We're here at Bradgate Park and we're about to see the Tale of Jemima Puddle-Duck.
Are you excited? So it's intermission. What do you think so far?
I think it's really good. One of the funniest bits was that the person playing the farmer's wife kept having to do quick changes. And they were quick.
Like
they
really
were
quick,
like
huh?
5-second quick changes. They didn't have a crew backstage, just the 3 actors. And they put on like the full half of this play.
Yeah, they did. They're all on their own and they're really doing a great job. I'm enjoying the musical numbers. I think they're fun and silly. They're obviously not what was in the original story, but that doesn't really matter. I'm just having a lot of fun.
It's just the baselines of the story.
Yeah, and then they've kind of filled it out really nicely with song and dance so far. So, poor Jemima Puddle-Duck, she has been lured into the fox's trap. Do you think she'll be okay in the end?
Yeah, because this wouldn't be a theater for children if it ended sadly.
That's probably true. If all the eggs got eaten and Jemima Puddle-Duck gets turned into a roast, I suspect there'd be a lot of crying children. But we still have to watch it and see what happens.
We saw the Tale of Jemima Puddle-Duck at Bradgate Park.
Yeah, it was put on by Quantum Theatre, which is a fun, small theater group. And they do productions with only 3 actors, it looks like. So at least for this show, which was really amazing. So the costumes were very minimal. They wore just kind of like a simple white, off-white getup. And then they had these really cool masks, kind of helmet-style masks.
I think inside the program it says that they took a hat and then just colored it with paper, and I think they just got an old bonnet for Jemima's.
It was a really clever way to handle the many characters in the play in a way that little kids could understand, but grown-ups could appreciate too, and that goes for the humor as well. Sometimes when you go to family theater, especially outdoor family theater, it can be, a bit more targeted at the kids, and the grown-ups are just kind of like, well, we're here because they're enjoying it. But I'm pleased to say that this production made me laugh just as much as my kids. The Tale of Jemima Puddle-Duck is one of Beatrix Potter's less-known stories. Pretty much everybody knows the tale of Peter Rabbit, and some people might have heard of Tom Kitten or Benjamin Bunny, but I have to admit, I hadn't read this one before, and I really enjoyed it. It's not the kind of story that has a big character arc. Jemima Puddle-Duck is very, how would you describe her?
I'd say she reminds me of a young child just learning how to do something, because she often forgets what she's doing and wanders off. She usually, at the beginning of the story, she kind of thinks what's best for her, and she doesn't really realize what other people need in able to survive.
Yeah, she's very foolish, and she's really not meant to change. This is the kind of story that's just meant to entertain you rather than teach any kind of lesson. It's just funny, although I guess kids could learn not to be foolish from her.
Yes. Inside the story, all the puddle ducks are not trusted to take care of their own children, so after they lay their eggs, the farmer's wife takes them and gives them to the chickens. She thinks the chickens are a lot more independent than the puddle ducks. Jemima Puddle-Duck gets very angry, and then she flies away to the woods. She meets a fox in the woods, and then he invites her to have her children inside the woodshed. Then the next day, he decides to have a feast, and he asks her to get some herbs from the garden.
We don't want to spoil the rest of the story, especially the very funny ending, but we thought we would share some of our favorite things about the production. I think that this is really nicely adapted into a musical. The songs are really fun and engaging, and they're silly. Probably the only thing I would have changed about the music is in the first act, there's a song where Jemima talks about how she's flying and she can't believe she's flying. Later on in the second act, that same song is repeated, but with the same lyrics. I think it would have made sense to swap out the lyrics to kind of reflect more what was going on in the story at that moment, but that's a pretty minor quibble. Other than that, the music was a lot of fun and the performances were great. The nice thing about the use of the hat mask kind of things is that it really doesn't matter who's playing what character. You believe whenever those masks are on, that's the character. So, you had a man playing the farmer's wife, and you had the two female actors frequently portraying male characters, but it really doesn't matter. That's the fun part of it. It gives it that sense of play acting that children sometimes do, where you overhear children playing and they say, okay, now you be this character, now you be this character. And then all of a sudden they'll say, okay, now I'm not that person anymore, now I'm this person. It just gives it this really fun, playful, very natural feel to the performance. I'm a big fan of different dialects of the English language, and it was fun to get to hear the actor Adam Barlow make use of his native northern dialect. One of the actresses was actually originally from Australia, Sophie Kleinschmidt, and she was also able to do a variety of different accents in the show. And Holly Burns played, I think she did a really good job playing Mr. Bunny and some of the dog parts. In fact, the girls had some of the funniest bits where they were imitating animals. Do you remember the part?
Oh.
What did the dogs do when they greeted each other?
So I thought this was really funny. So the butcher came along, and he was also the same person who played the farmer's wife. So when he went behind the house, he was able to talk to himself. And then when the two dogs met, they did what dogs do when they greet each other.
Mm-hmm. They kind of went, bow, wow, 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 and then they pretended to sniff each other's behinds. It was very funny, and the grown-ups were laughing twice as hard as the kids during that part. So again, this is not a play that took itself too seriously. It was really fun. We enjoyed very nice weather, which is lucky because England in summer, it can go either way. But this was out at Bradgate Park, which is a very beautiful country park not far from where we live in Leicestershire. And they'd set up the stage on one of the deer lawns, and they had ice cream, and you could bring a picnic blanket. It was really just a lot of fun. If you do get the chance to be in the Midlands of England in summer, I really do recommend looking up the summer shows at Bradgate Park, as well as other outdoor venues, because it's just a lot of fun, and you usually get these more lighthearted, family-oriented performances, especially during the day.
We were really lucky with our seating because picnic blankets go near the front, and we were at the front of the line, so we got front middle, and I was very happy about that. But it was quite sunny.
What was your favorite part of the show?
I'd say when the farmer's wife was describing the chicken, because one of the actresses, she put on a chicken wig and then stood up with like a fake egg, and she started like petting the egg and looking like all responsible and stuff like that.
She was very proud of herself when she laid her eggs. That scene was very funny. There were some pretty hilarious facial contortions when she was laying eggs, huh?
Yes.
So are there any other Beatrix Potter stories that you think would make good plays?
I'd say I'd quite like to see Peter Rabbit into a play, but I think that would be quite tricky because you would need a very, very, very big stage for the garden.
That's true. You'd probably also need a bigger cast because there's frequently scenes where you would at least need 5 actors because you would have to have Mother Rabbit, Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter, right?
Yes.
Although I guess you could do something funny where one actor was trying to do a bunch of quick changes to be like all 3 sisters at the same time. You could probably work it out, but yeah, you would need a larger stage. You'd also need a lot more props, I think, to do the Tale of Peter Rabbit because he has to eat the lettuces and hide, and Mr. McGregor would have to make the scarecrow. So, now that I think of it, I think the Tale of Jemima Puddle-Duck was a good choice, especially for a very small cast and a light, mobile stage with very few props. Either way, well done to Quantum Theatre. We really, really enjoyed this show, and we hope you have a good time finishing out your summer tour of the UK.
I think this version would make a really great movie.
Yeah, I agree. It's exactly the sort of thing that maybe you'd see as a panto at Christmas time on BBC or something like that. But honestly, it's a good enough musical version that I'd watch it just any time of year. So well done to Quantum Theatre. Thank you very much for giving us a wonderful time out as a family and helping us to discover another of Beatrix Potter's very funny, very cute, very silly tales.